speak? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to say welcome to our October 11th commission meeting tonight. And at this time, if you would all stand with me to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would remain standing for 10 seconds just to say a prayer for all of those in the Southwest Florida who did not do as well as we did, and prayers for all of our families and friends. Thank you. You may be seated. Deanne, will you call the roll?
Vice Mayor Hausberg.
Here.
Vice Mayor Hausberg is attending via phone. Commissioner Hanna.
Here.
Commissioner McCall.
Here.
Commissioner Bond.
Here.
Vice Mayor Kennedy.
Here. Thank you, Deanne. Greg, would you, before I have the sheriff come up, would you, I think you have a couple words you'd like to say to the audience tonight and to the commission?
Yes, I want to give an update. There's been a good bit of dialogue about vacation rentals and the city's vacation rental ordinance. I want to give an update about the efforts and where that is. I'm just going to kind of read through this. The last few weeks, there's been a lot of behind-the-scenes work to looking at the vacation rental rules for the city. The city cannot outlaw them, but we can regulate them within limits. We have met with individual commission members, we looked at other city ordinances, and we began the process of implementing the additional code enforcement procedures, and that's as a result of our second full-time code enforcement person coming on board. For example, since October 1st, we've verified the 24-hour contact name and number for all vacation rentals that are regulated by ordinance 2018-01. In addition, we've assembled a master email list and beginning regular correspondence with all the RVOs. The enhanced communication will include regular correspondence from the city, reminding operators of their responsibilities in the areas of operation that we're having issues with. And I want to thank particularly Denise Hausberg for being involved in that effort. In addition, out of the 250 plus registered VRBOs, 9 appear to be repeated locations for alleged complaints. With the addition of an additional code enforcement officer, I would direct the code enforcement to schedule inspections of these properties to ensure compliance with the requirements of the ordinance and FEMA requirements. In fact, I'll do the first inspection tomorrow. Finally, there's been communication with Chief Davison of the Petaluma Suncoast Fire Rescue District. The chief and his team are looking into adopting their own ordinance that would regulate vacation rentals from a fire code and prevention standpoint. If they adopt an ordinance, we would include them in our annual renewals of BTRs or vacation rentals and communication efforts to VRBO operators and owners, so they would be involved in that communication that we're setting up with all the VRBO owners. During the first week of November, we scheduled a meeting with representatives of the Holmes Beach Code Compliance Department. The meeting will include our office administrator, both RV code enforcement officers, and me. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss all aspects of their VRBO ordinance compared to ours and discuss in detail their operational procedures and guidelines. Based on our ongoing review of our ordinance and the scheduled meeting, we will be prepared to report back to the commission with a list of specific list of recommendations of amendments to ordinance 2018-01 that the commission may consider. Today, based on a telephone poll of the IRB commission members individually, we set the date of November the 15th at 6 p.m. to discuss possible amendments to the VRBO ordinance and for the commission to reach a consensus of a path forward. We will invite all local legislative delegations, and give notice to residents and property owners in IRB. This timeline will allow team members and the city attorney to complete their work and report back to that meeting. And I'd said throughout the budget season, this is the schedule that the staff was on because of the importance of finishing the budget process and other things that we had going on. So that, we hold y'all individually. So just really need just a nod from the commission room that per our communication with you today that the commission's okay to hold a special meeting on November the 15th at 6 p.m. to discuss possible amendments to the city's VRBO ordinance.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Denise, is Denise?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's all.
Thank you, Greg. With that, I'm going to go to our first presentation of Sheriff, if you would like to come forward.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm Sergeant McKnight with the Sheriff's Office, and I'm here to give you the August report. For the first page of the monthly report for the UCR crime stats, there was 1 robbery charge, 6 assaults, 1 burglary charge, and 4 larcenies. The second page of the report is the arrests. There were 11 people arrested on 11 separate charges. The third page of the report shows that there was 1,123 events that took place during the month of August, and 1,446 deputies responded to those events. The last page of the report shows that there was 1 crash report during the month of August, and a combination of 348 citations and warnings within the city of Indian Wells Beach. Do you have any questions for me?
Does anyone have any questions for Sheriff tonight? You know, I want to thank you for the Oktoberfest. You were out there and walking around, and I think it was pretty calm. Did you have a good time, the guys that were there?
Yes.
Everything went well? Okay, good. Thank you. We'll see you next. Yes, yes.
No, that's it. Oh, sorry.
I always like to tell the audience that the sheriff is here 15 minutes before the meeting, so if anyone would like to talk to them personally before the meeting, they are here, you know, at your disposal. So just so that you know that in the future. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. The next is Pine Island Suncoast Fire and Rescue, Chief Davidson.
Good evening, everyone. Wanted to tell you a little bit about what happened during Hurricane Ian, and prayers go out for those affected. We were very, very lucky it turned the way it did. You know, we always want to keep our community and our community leaders informed of what's going on in preparation for any storm that's coming. We were happy to help out with the sandbags here. It was a great operation that you had going on here. We have a list of residents that need to go to special needs shelters, and the county maintains that list, but we made sure that we contacted every single one of our residents here, and if they weren't accounted for, we went and visited them. And we ended up with 5 residents that needed transportation to a special needs shelter, so we accommodated that. Our paramedics rode in the transport van, and we made sure they got to the special needs shelter, and then 2 of them needed accommodations to get back. So we were in our emergency operations center, which just outside the district when we have to vacate the beaches because we don't have a hurricane resistant building as of yet, but we set up in there on Tuesday, September 27th through Thursday. We had all hands on deck. The firefighters and paramedics worked in 12-hour shifts, and we had additional units on hand. All in all, we responded to 69 incidents, including 2 working structure fires during the storm. We did our damage assessments and reporting, and we were back to normal, thankfully, by Thursday afternoon, early Friday. In the month of September, for Indian Wells Beach, we responded to 66 emergency calls, fire and EMS related emergency calls with an average response time of 4 minutes and 14 seconds. If anybody has any questions about those. All right, and you may or may not, or you should have, if you're a resident here, you should have gotten a text message. We're hosting a telephone town hall tomorrow night, 6 or 6:30, I forget what it said, on there. So you can register as a question and answer session to be informed about our upcoming referendum. So if you have any questions, you could be on there tomorrow, or I'm happy to come and meet with anybody personally and answer any questions you might have. And as Greg mentioned, we are looking into, we still have a few things to accomplish, and of course, run by the district attorney. And my board, but we are looking at enacting an ordinance. I have that authority as the authority having jurisdiction to enact ordinances related to the prevention of fires and the preservation of property. Specifically, we're looking at the short-term vacation rentals and how we can help to save lives and property through there, making sure that they're registered and they have their life safety inspections, and we keep their occupancies to where they need to be at a safe level. So I know Greg mentioned that, so I just want to reiterate that it's something we're working on. It's going to be a timely process. We want to make sure we do everything right. And of course, we'll take any feedback from our community.
Chief Davidson, would you give the phone number in case anybody in the audience would like to get in touch with you?
Sure. You can call me anytime. I'll give you my cell phone is available to all of you anytime. It's 954 number. It's 954-770-9847. You can call me or text me any time of day. I'm happy to come and visit with you, answer any questions you may have. If you have any life safety concerns, we address those right away. And of course, you can see us on our website. It's psfrd.org.
Any questions for Chief Davidson tonight? Hearing none, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'll move on to public comment. Any member of the audience may come forward, give their name and address, and state any comment or concern that they may have regarding any matter over which the City Commission has control, excluding agenda items. All statements made to the City Commission should be made to the City Commission as a whole, not directed to an individual City Commission member, and no personal or slanderous remarks shall be permitted. No speaker shall be interrupted, and no debate shall take place between the speaker and the City Commission. And you have 3 minutes if anyone would like to at this time speak.
John Fansfield, 448 Howard Drive South.
John?
Good evening, all. It was very good to hear the report from Greg about things moving ahead. I had tried to send a list to you of basically a dozen things that can be done in the section of helping to tamp down problems with short-term rentals and hopefully limit short-term rentals. But there's also another section that has to do with the state level. Now that is not likely going to be easy, but it's a fight that really should be won. You might want to know that there's a growing grassroots movement to eliminate short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods. And we all feel that the fabric of the community is destroyed when there's a turnstile of strangers replacing neighbors. Just might be illuminating to take a closer look at just one transient lodging. It's advertised in IRB as Sleeping 16. This is what that means. And to be fair, I'm going to use an average only 25% less than their stated occupancy, and not even rented 12 weeks or 3 months out of the year. That still amounts to 500 transients per year from that one lodging. They're next to grandparents, seniors, widows. There are 500 transients looking over the fence at small children and teens. If there's another one nearby, that's 1,000 transients next door to you. So you got to ask, how many of those 500 or 1,000 transients are alcoholics, drug users, drug dealers, or thieves? How many are repeat DUI drivers? And the statistics are that they're 5 times as likely to cause a death. How many are people without licenses or insurance? That's 25% of Florida drivers. So we're talking about hundreds of unlicensed, uninsured transients driving your neighborhood. And of course, how many are sex offenders or pedophiles? We will not know. They don't have to register their transients. There is now a national grassroots effort to fight this cancer on neighborhoods. Texas, California, Arizona, New Jersey, Florida, and more. I tried to send that to you, but we'll get it to you sooner or later. These are websites that are fascinating. So here are actions that can be done. Hopefully they'll be integrated in that. And then of course there's the second level of working on Florida. This is your moment to shine. You can take any or all of these very quickly. We don't want, I'm sure you don't want to be a Neville Chamberlain and just say, oh, we can't do anything. Be more like a more like a Roosevelt or Churchill and fight this, because it's going to be a hard fight. So, your hands are not tied. You can do many things, and it looks like you're starting to do so, so I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward at this time?
For reference.
Jerry Newton, 438 Harbor Drive North, Indian Rocks Beach. Hang on. Let's stop my phone from ringing. I applaud Greg's comments and the chief's comments tonight. Obviously, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and we appreciate everything that could be considered progress on this issue. We are greatly disappointed to see that there's no agenda this evening regarding short-term rentals. The comments were great, but we really believe it should be on the agenda. Yet another month has passed. In the meantime, there are more hotel rooms and more unfamiliar faces every day next door to our homes. It's beginning to look like our city leaders are not willing to do anything about this cancer. And the answer that our hands are tied isn't going to cut it. Yes, there are things that can be done, and I know for a fact that you all have been supplied with a starting list of achievable actions. For gosh sakes, we don't even have reasonable regulations in place here to make it possible to monitor and track these uncontrolled businesses. Our fees don't even cover the cost of copying the forms. These are things we can do now. If anyone has the misconception that this is just a temporary local issue, they are mistaken. A quick search on the internet will expose that many places in Florida, as well as across the country, are fighting the same battle. We live in paradise, and everybody wants to be here. We welcome those people, but not as a hotel room next to our house. Stay in a hotel, rent a house for 28 days, do it right. We do not welcome transient rentals. Some of these places across the country have made headway, and we can learn from them. There's no doubt as to the will of our residents. I can't find anyone that is not involved in the profit from this debacle that's in favor of having an unregulated hotel business next door to their family home. I don't think any one of you that live in Indian Rocks Beach want this to be next door. If anyone has ambitions of being elected or re-elected to represent the city of IRB going forward, they can be the people's hero and get serious about this short-term rental issue. I would suggest that you all make it a priority and a campaign promise to get started doing something about it now. And again, I appreciate the comments earlier this evening. Those were after the fact, but it appears that we are making some progress, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Jerry. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at this time?
Linda Newton, 438 Harbor Drive North, Indian Rocks Beach. I just spoke, I created a report in Excel. And you could go.
Speak to us.
Okay, and you could go on the website, yes ma'am. And you can go on the website and find all the people that have rentals, and this is the ones with your license number and who, all the contacts. But what I did is I created a sales spreadsheet, and I separated the house number from the street, which I just talked to Greg about it before the meeting. I'm gonna forward him a copy of this file, so it's already laid out for you all. And you'll have all your columns. You can sort any which way you want. So if you have somebody that's going down, say 10th Avenue, they can just go to 10th, and these are the people listed. It gives you a little more control to be able to, you can check off on here if they've paid for their dues, you can check off if they've had their inspection, you can do it by column. So I'm gonna forward that to Greg. Anyway, I worked really hard on that. It's not perfect because it's a scan, but they can update it. The other thing is, I'm really happy to be with you all tonight. It's my birthday, and I got a nice card from Nick. And Nick was really nice. I actually sent him some information and he responded to me. I won't read my whole letter, it's long. But Nick says, "Good morning, Linda. Thank you for your email. I also live in Indian Rocks Beach." By the way, Nick is running for, what's he running for, Cookie? Senate?
State Senate.
State Senate. Anyway, he says, "I live in Indian Rocks Beach and I've seen our communities change over the last few years. I'm committing to working on the issue in the next legislative session, which is January 2023. I believe it is time for the legislator to act on this issue and consider how the 2011 preemption law has eroded these communities. I have spoken with several beach mayors in Pinellas County and the Pinellas County property appraiser, and I believe we can come up with a workable concept that can address the issue with a balanced approach. I hear you and the other residents and their concerns loud and clear." Anyway, I thought that was really nice. He gave me a little answer back. Anyway, thank you guys for all you're working on.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Bill Snyder, 425 18th Avenue in New York Beach. Great to be back. I should come here more often. But I'm here, of course, to ask for your help, as everyone else is, to control this rental situation. It's nice to hear that something is going on in a positive direction to curb it down and get it under control. Because as you know, obviously, most of the people that live here, or many of the people that are residents, don't want it. They want it to go away because they don't feel like they know their neighbors anymore, as we don't. You don't lose walking up down the streets anymore. So luckily we haven't had a lot of crime from it, but just a matter of time before the wrong person moves in. We see it in the news in other neighborhoods. So let's hope it doesn't happen here. Just here to ask for your help. You guys work for us. We need your help.
Bill, you're on 18th.
18.
Yeah, 18th.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you a question. Are there any right around your house? I know where you live.
Oh yeah, they're all over the place.
Right around.
Up and down the street.
On
Yep.
18th.
Yep. Across the canal, we see them.
Right.
I mean,
know they are across.
We sit out there and there's kids playing, visitors. And we watch this one particular house has a staircase. And they go up the staircase. And they jump off the staircase into the pool. We're just waiting for the ambulance. Because somebody's going to get hurt because people don't have the respect. They obviously not laying any rules down for these homes. We just watch it. What are you going to do? But we need your help to curb it. Hopefully, down the road, you guys, I know you had a lot to say tonight, but I couldn't hear your words because my hearing's horrible. But I knew it was on the positive side of what we're looking to do. So hopefully, we'll hear more good stuff and you guys will find a way to curb it down and help us. Thank you.
I think it was hard. We'll have him reiterate, or I'll reiterate some of the things he said during our comments. Okay, so you can hear it again.
That's fine. Yeah, I know it was a positive, but
It was.
my ears are.
That's okay. Mine are going too. I get it, believe me. Anyone else who'd like to speak at this time?
John Thayer, 1819 Bay Boulevard. 3 quick things. One is I'd like to thank the city of Indian Rock, particularly the solid waste guys, for having people out when they came back on the beach Friday morning. They were collecting debris, not that there was near as much from Irma, but they were collecting debris Friday and Saturday, and appreciate all their efforts. They always do a great job. Give those guys more money. Second thing is dogs on the beach. I sit out there at night, probably 3 or 4 nights a week, watch sunset with my wife. These aren't service animals. People know they're not supposed to be on the beach because right after sundown, out they come through the dunes. Right down the beach there. We see 2 or 3 average every night around 19. Some of them are running up and down in the surf, They don't you don't even have a leash on them. So anything we could do about that, I'd appreciate. Good luck with smoking and cigarette butts if we can't handle a dog on the beach. Third thing is motorized vehicles on the beach, and I've talked to the city council about this before because we have a very loose sign that says only authorized vehicles on the beach. We only know what that means. Police vehicles, I guess. These big fat tired bicycles that are electric, These things can go 15 or 20 miles an hour because I've been beside them on Gulf Boulevard. Right after dark or during dark, you know, around sunset, I've watched them up and down the beach, you know, probably going 10 miles an hour more on the beach, just weaving around through people. One little kid turns around and heads for the beach and gets center punched by us, it's going to be a dead child. All right, I think we need to take a look at that. I'd ask the city commission to maybe look at that. And it's not just those bikes. I saw a guy setting up a powered paraglider on the beach on Saturday last summer, down 16th. All right, and I don't know what that is, but it's got a 4-foot airplane prop on it, unguarded from the back, and he was going to take off from the beach. All right, I don't know whether it happened to that. I wouldn't stand around to see the mess. But it's all these little boards with a single wheel. Those things will go like crazy. I work up at Caldesi Beach, and when they come up there from Clearwater, we can't even catch them with a gator before they get back to Clearwater. So, you know, there's a lot of the electric motorized stuff that's getting faster and faster and faster, almost like motorcycles. And I think the city needs to kind of look at that on the beach. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anyone else who'd like to speak at this time?
Good evening. Adrian Doss, 2008 Gulf Boulevard. I wanted to approach the subject with the vacation rentals and life safety. And I think that has to be the most important issue that's taking place. I'm going to give you an example. I've been managing Gulf Breeze Inn, which was built in 1950. We have to comply with the state of Florida, the Department of Health, the fire marshal, making sure we have smoke detectors for deaf and blind. Even though we're in a commercial tourist zone, I feel like we're cherry picked compared to the rental, say across the street from me, that's a quadplex, has no sprinkler system. No, they don't have to go through life safety planning. They don't have inspections. I mean, and we keep up with our occupancy at Gulf Breeze Inn to where we know who's in the units. Somebody's there. I know people can't be there all the time, but we know who's coming in and out. And we have more control, and I feel like there's a way we can fight this or control it a little better. For example, on the quadplex, each quadplex is 3 bedrooms, and they're renting out from 12 to, at one point I saw 20 people in one unit. And there were some stragglers that were hanging around that didn't know where to go when this Hurricane Ian was approaching. So I think all of this has to do a lot with life safety because it's just out of control. We have to follow different regulations. And the other problem that's starting to take place is that you have houses that are a little bit newer than us, 10, 12 years old, that are requiring sprinkler systems, and they're concrete buildings, and it's kind of hard to put a sprinkler system in after it's been built. So why not fight the new construction with the sprinkler system and occupancy and square footage calculations? So be more proactive with the design, because we know they're going to be a vacation in the end. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good to see you. Anyone else who'd like to speak at this time? Hi, Don, I didn't see you come in.
I've lost a lot of weight. Don House, 2104 Beach Trail. So again, short-term rentals. I've lived in a place, nightly rentals, ever since I've been here. It's a tough thing to keep it straight. But I think that, and it's nice that y'all are trying to address it, but I think that 71 years old, my brain's not quite as what it used to be, but if I remember, the city had an ordinance that would have helped with this, but it went away at the last minute. And it went away because of the city commission. And now you're looking to solve the problems that you helped create. It's good that you're trying to solve it, but take some responsibility for what happened in the past. I know the state has thrown a whammy on everything, but the IRB did have an ordinance that would have helped with all of this stuff. Secondly, and I'm going to use some language here that I found totally offensive. I was called a selfish fucking asshole because I would not sign the easement that's been asked, and that was by a past president of Action 2000. I'm an SFA because I'm looking out for my own property. But that also means that more than half the people that live on the beach are SFAs. So I don't think the city has done anything except working happily together to address the fact that you're just fueling the people that are exercising their personal rights, and I think doing it correctly by not signing the easements, the harassment that has been given to us. So we live in a short-term rental place, maybe turn it out fair play. Thanks.
Thank you, Don. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at this time? Hearing none, I will call the public comment, and Randy, it's your time.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Limited report, as the city manager alluded to, been working very closely on a number of matters, specifically the revisitation of the short-term rental regulations and analysis thereof in response to community feedback. Also looking at the city's sign code and getting drafts of that advanced. Otherwise, I am happy to answer any questions you may have and remain available.
Do you have any questions for Randy at this time? Jude?
No.
Denise? Does Denise have any questions?
Denise, you have any questions?
I do not have any questions.
Thank you. Greg, we're going to start with you, but I just wanted to tell everyone who's here tonight just a couple little things about the city that I thought were really wonderful as far as Ian and what they did, the sandbags. Just to give you an idea, in Irma we did 6,000 sandbags, and in Ian we did 14,000. We were, to the best of my knowledge, the only city that was open out of 24 cities in Pinellas County on Wednesday from 8 to 11 to make sure anyone who needed a pass to get back on the island had one. And the staff was just really wonderful. I got to be with them and talk to some of the citizens and who were very afraid and scared, some of our new residents who have not been through something like this. And it was very stressful, but the city is so well prepared for hurricanes, and we have a very good piece in place when we have hurricane problems. So I just wanted to do a shout out to Greg for what a wonderful job the city did. And Greg, with that, you'd like to do your report?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for those comments. First, I want to honor the memory of Michael Hartwick, who was the Pinellas County Sheriff officer that was killed in a hit and run incident on the interstate on September the 22nd. He was a 19-year veteran of the Sheriff's Office and a husband and father of two. He also spent some time out on our beach, so I want to recognize Mr. Deputy Hartwood for his service. To follow up with what Cookie said, I want to thank our city team for the prep before, during, and after the hurricane. It takes a major effort before and after an event like this to deal with it. As Cookie mentioned, we distributed over 14,000 sandbags to residents and property owners compared to 6,000 for Irma. We estimate our hurricane-related expenses to be approximately $30,000. And we'll file that with FEMA, and we'll all cross our FEMA fingers that we get that back. We'll see. I do want to talk about sandbags for just a second. It's important to note, because we do have so many new residents that live on our island, that sandbags are only recommended for residents that experience minor flooding from rainfall. Sandbags will not protect against storm surge from the bay or tidal waters. Residents that picked up the 14,000 sandbags should keep and store them for the balance of the hurricane season. The hurricane season ends on November the 30th, so we still have a little more time left. When residents are finished with the sandbags, the sand should be spread on their lawns or their landscape beds. And they can place the empty bags in their garbage can or store them for the next year. Residents should always take their own protective measures. So, we have, just like residents had 365 days, they had the whole year to come by City Hall to pick up the passes. You plan for hurricane season and take care, your first priority should be taking care of your property. When you finish what you're saying from the sandbags, don't dump them on the beach. Sand placed on the beach requires a permit from the state. And also, I was asked several times throughout the distribution of the sandbags about, well, when y'all run out of sand, can I go dig it on the beach? The answer to that is no. It's against the law to do that. And also, you need to be remind everybody that turtle season ends on October the 31st, 2020, and the worst thing that I would think would happen to a resident or property owner would be to go to the beach, pull their shovel up, dig a hole in the sand and pull out turtle shells, and then the person on the balcony has a panic attack and calls everybody. That's the serious thing. But sand works well on lawns and side. You just spread it out, rake it out. But we just asked the public to, since there was not really a lot of use for those during this storm, thank goodness, just to hold on to those. Code enforcement report for the month, 70 parking citations were written by our staff. This does not include the sheriff's office. 6 notices to appear, 3 violation notices, and 2 courtesy letters. One of the things we did on September the 22nd is we sent a letter with a copy of a press release to all the property owners, commercial property owners along Gut Boulevard, to announce a new outreach program to local businesses. And what this is that, for several years now, the city's implemented public art. And we're now, through this press release, encouraging people that own commercial properties along Gut Boulevard to install their own public art, kind of along the themes of what we've done. We'll just remind the commission that our fourth installation of public art will happen sometime probably in the next month or 2, and it's being sponsored by the Homeowner Association. So we're requesting the private businesses to get on board and to get in the public art business. And we said in the press release that as they do that, the city will recognize them and make sure that they get some recognition out of it. IRB Hallowfest is October the 29th from 10 to 1. That's our second. We have 2 primary children events during the year, and that's a big one. It's really hard to believe that we started Hallowfest in 2015, so other than a couple of COVID years, that program's been going since 2015. The fourth quarter IRB newsletter was delayed a week because of the hurricane. All residents will receive it this week. One update to the newsletter is the hours of the Taste of IRB. The banners along Gut Boulevard are correct. The hours of the event is 3 to 9. Some of the information included in the newsletter includes a 2022-23 budget recap, code enforcement contact information or general code enforcement information, and fall event calendar. Let's say again how proud I am of having the opportunity to manage the people that I work with, and I do thank Cookie for coming in and helping us for a few hours, because at numerous times we had people lined up out the front. They were needing their re-entry passes, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions from anyone? Thank you, Greg. Commissioner, I'm looking at Jude. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
No? Okay. Commissioner McCall?
I have no questions.
Yeah, I was going to can you elaborate a little bit on the taste, since that'll be before our next meeting? Greg did say when it is and the time, but is there anything that you want to add?
I probably should have gone prepared about that. I think this will be, what, year 15? 14, 15
Yes.
for that? I do know all the restaurants are excited. Bill Dots has been working throughout the community for that, so we should have a great turnout. I think we are going to have a little more vendor space this year as of crafts and so forth, from what I've been seeing in those reports coming through. But yeah, I mean, all in all, just a great event. We'll showcase all the foods here in Indian Rocks Beach, and it's just a great, kind of a great show for the city. But outside of that, just real quick, and I'll reserve my short-term rental comments for the next go-around for the special meeting. But I did think it was important, just as Cookie alluded, this was my first time since 1997 that I felt the need for sandbags. And honestly, it was crowded out there. But everybody got along. That's not the reports from some of my friends from different cities that were gotten for there. There was a couple throwdowns or 5-hour wait lines or things of that nature. And we did find some new residents, so we tried to help them along. They were a little high-eyed on what to do and so forth. The only thing I'd recommend is bring your own shovel, because those run out pretty quickly. So, other than that, it was great, and stay out of Drew's way when he's on the bucket truck.
Yes. Denise, do you have any comments for tonight?
I don't have any comments tonight. I'm going to save mine for the November meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you, everyone who came tonight. We think we may be on the right track to help solve or at least alleviate some of the issues we're all experiencing. I think it's pretty safe to say that none of the people up here have too much of a different view than what you folks have. I got 7 of these things in my own neighborhood. Luckily, the people have been fairly good. My overnight camera shows the other night, about 2 a.m., 6 or 8 people just kind of walking down the street. Young kids, no problem, But nonetheless, I remember looking and I'd see the camera come on at like 1 o'clock and a car would go by and I wouldn't see anything else until about 5 when people were leaving the area to go to work. Now it's about every 3 to 4 minutes I'm seeing a vehicle go by. So it's, there are a few things that I personally would like to see addressed on this. They're not going to go away, they're here, but they certainly can be more neighborly, I think, and that's what I think we all can do to work together. Other than that, A2K had what am I saying?
Taco Fest?
The Taco Fest, I'm just saying, the Oktoberfest. And it was very, very successful. Everybody worked very hard. I think it was probably a record crowd, and from the initial indications, we did very well financially, which the money goes to help the city, and I think also we may have some other ideas for that money that we'll know after we get the full count that probably will help our neighbors to the south. So that's something that we appreciate. Other than that, that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Bill. Just a couple comments. The dogs on the beach, John, I have somebody that kind of monitors 12th, and they call the police when they see somebody and tell them that, you're there. You just tell them that there's dogs on the beach. Sometimes they call me and then I call the police. So or take, text so that we have, and I'll give you my number so anybody can have my number, 727-560-7565. Bill, when you were talking about kids jumping off the balcony, that's an indication that somebody should call the police. If you know the house number, if you don't find the house number, if it's happening more than once. All of these things are, if you see something, you need to call the police. And that includes the short-term rentals. That's one of the problems. I do want to say a couple things about the short-term rentals because I sometimes get the impression from the residents that, you know, it's been mentioned several times that they think that we're not doing anything. And that couldn't be anything but the case. I think a few times there were mentioned that there's nothing that we can do. I personally have never said that. So I meet with residents. We were with Nick DeCiglia, all the mayors on the beaches, and I'm pleasantly surprised to hear that conversation that he had with Linda, who came up previously today, because, you know, that wasn't the conversation that we had with the mayors. He felt that the leadership in Tallahassee believes that this is a property rights issue. And I mentioned this last time when Jeff was here, our reporter. So to think that, you know, there is a possibility that he is seeing what some of the, I've told every time that a resident contacts me, I always tell them that they need to contact our representatives. That's the most important thing. We have been working on the fees. We have a new code enforcer that will be full-time, so now we have 2. It's one of the things that DeCiglia said to me was, we want to see proof. That means calling the police, and that somebody has been, the police have been called to go to a resident. We had one that was on Harbor Drive, Gene Scott's home. It was a weekend issue where they were just whacking nuts, screaming and yelling during the day out by the pool, and Greg and I got involved, and they were actually kicked off Airbnb. So, I mean, those kinds of things that, you know, we have been doing. I've been up to Tallahassee, spoken in front of the committee since day one, and telling them what an issue that this has caused our community. The other beach mayors are very concerned. One other has lost their grandfather clause, but the others, there was, I think 2 years ago, there was a bill to eliminate grandfather clauses, period, and everybody would lose them. That would be the end of it. And, you know, it almost, you know, we were fortunate that it didn't happen. So we continue to work on it, this new piece with the fire chief, and being able now to speak to Holmes Beach, who has actually, our attorney was the attorney for Holmes Beach, is that correct?
We represented them in litigation, but we began serving as their city attorneys at the start of this year.
Okay. So, you know, we have a staff that is very informed on these issues. I feel that we have been very transparent with the community, and that we know the issues that are with them. I still think it's a beautiful community that we live in, and I think that we're all blessed that we're here. I feel like that. I love it here, and I'm very glad that we're here. November 5th is the taste, one more time. The women's tea is November 12th, and I think it's sold out, so if you want a ticket, you'll have to call one of us and see the women's tea if you can come, but I think it's sold out. And our November 15th meeting, where we will be here from 6 to 7, that'll be the night, is that the night that we're having, what's the night, is that the 15th?
Yeah, 6 o'clock, it won't be 6 to 7, I can assure you, it'll be 6 to 10.
Okay, 6 to 10 that night. Okay, and the regular scheduled commission meeting
It's the week before.
is the week before, which is November,
It's on the 9th. It's on Wednesday, the 9th, because the general election
because we
is-
have the election, right? Okay, so let's get that straight now. So November 9th, Wednesday, the day after the election, we will have the commission meeting. That night, we will also, in November, we do a veterans acknowledgement because of Veterans Day. So anyone who's a veteran, I would love for you to come that night. It's a very simple ceremony, and I like to do it honoring our veterans. So that'll be the 9th. And then the 15th, we will have, at 6 p.m., we will meet to discuss the vacation rentals and where we're at. With that, We will move on to additions and deletions. We have none, okay. Our consent agenda is number 5 here, and I'm looking for, Randy, would you please read our
Happily,
consent
Madam Mayor, there are 3 items on the consent agenda for this meeting. Item A, approval of the September 7, 2022 special city commission meeting minutes. Approval of the September 13, 2022 regular city commission meeting minutes. Item C, confirming the action taken during the September 21, 2022 special city commission meeting. These are the only items on the consent agenda, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to public hearing. That would be 6A, a BOA case 2022-12. Randy, would you please read this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This is item 6A, Board of Adjustment case number 2022-12 for 526 20th Avenue. Considering a variance request from section 110-131 sub 1 sub F sub 1 of the Code of Ordinances to encroach 3 feet into the required 25-foot front yard setback, resulting in a total front yard setback of 22 feet to allow for an addition to the front of the house for the property located at 526 20th Avenue, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, and legally described as Lot 29, 15th edition to re-revised map of Indian Beach, parcel number 06-30-15-42300-000-029. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. In a quasi-judicial hearing, this body is not making the law, but rather applying the law to the competent substantial evidence presented to you this evening. Before we begin, has any member of this body had any ex parte communications with the applicant or their agent?
No.
No.
All having responded in the negative, and thank you, Ms. Hausberg. And for the record, Ms. Hausberg will not be voting on this matter as it is a quasi-judicial matter with visual evidence presented. Beyond that, has any member of this body conducted a site visit for the limited purpose of evaluating the application before you tonight?
No.
All having responded in the negative, will anybody who intends to offer any testimony before this body this evening, that includes staff, the applicant or their agent, or any other member of the public who intends to speak, will you please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give this evening is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
With that, Ms. Harmon, if you may begin.
Okay, we're looking at the property at 526 20th Avenue. You can see the house here. It's set back further in the lot. It was built in 1960. And what he's requesting to do, and here's the survey of the lot. You can see that the house is almost set back, 60 feet from the street. What he proposed to do was to add on to the front of the house. You've got the existing house back here. They're going to add on between the house and this was the garage originally, and then add a garage and put a pool in the interior. The new addition will be totally FEMA compliant, and he's asking for 3 feet into the 25-foot yard setback. And this is a little bit more of a detail of the plan. Oh, sorry, a detail of the plan. And you can see this is on the first floor. The connecting structure, it says pool room. It will be adjoining to the house, but still be independent to qualify for the FEMA qualifications. And then what they've done upstairs is they put 4 bedrooms on there. I think right now they have 2 or 3 bedrooms in the house now, and probably a couple of these will be offices. They have moved here permanently and need more room in their house. This would be the look from the street. And this is looking at the house. It's the gray house here. This is the new house next door, and the other house to the right, so you can get a feel for the street. What's going on? All right, and with that, do you have any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Hetty?
Okay, and I was going to go on that the staff recommended denial since it's into the front yard setback. The Board of Adjustments voted 3-2 to approve the request.
Any questions? With that, I'm going to ask the applicant to come forward. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for reviewing my case this evening, and to thank Hetty for helping me through this process. My name is Ed DeRusa. I live at 526 20th, along with my wife, Linda. We've both been residents of Florida for over 40 years, and we recently just sold our home in Orlando, where we lived for 27 years. We purchased the property on 20th Ave in January of 2018, and our initial thoughts were just to use it as a weekend getaway. However, after selling our home in Orlando, we decided to make Indian Rocks Beach move here for good. Thankfully, we both have jobs that allow us to work remotely due to the pandemic and just the flexible working environment provided to her and myself. When we bought this home, we came to the conclusion that if we were to add space, we would either have to add on to the existing structure or build from scratch. Learning later, and through my neighbor's experience, as you saw, that latter process could take up to 3 years. At only 950 square feet, our 2-bedroom bungalow makes it extremely difficult to work and enjoy at the same time. As I mentioned, we both work from home, and there isn't enough area in which we can dedicate to working space. In addition, since we moved here, my wife and I have been lucky enough to be blessed with 2 grandchildren. We currently have no way in which they and their parents can stay with us, even for a short weekend, and visit to enjoy all that IRB has to offer. Making any types of changes to this home comes with quite a few restrictions. As you can see by the lot size, we are dealing with one of the smaller lots in Indian Rocks Beach at just under 6,000 square feet. The current home sits well back on the lot and does give us some opportunity to add additional space in the front of the home. Unfortunately, because the house sits so far back, setbacks and tiebacks interference from the seawall prohibit us from building a pool in the backyard, which we would like as well. Adding onto the existing building would also put us face to face with the 50% FEMA rule. The value of the building, according to FEMA, is only $83,000, which means I can't really make any modifications to the existing building above $41,500. Our plan now is to add a FEMA-compliant 2-story building to the front of the home and to add a courtyard pool between the existing structure and the new addition. This would allow us to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Current code restrictions do not allow a pool to be built in front of a house. Additional code restrictions also limit the setback of the pool from the home. A pool edge can only be within 5 feet of a structure or property setback. The plan here is to add a FEMA-compliant structure not attached to the original building, give us additional space for bedrooms and offices, and allow for a courtyard pool. In addition, the bottom level would act as a garage, storage, and as a lanai area. A non-attached structure would help us to avoid the 50% FEMA rule restriction. Because of these large setbacks, we are looking for an additional 3 foot on the front setback in order to give us adequate space for the bedrooms, offices, and pool area. This would put the new addition at approximately 35 feet from the edge of the street rather than 38 feet. Also, my neighbor and I have already discussed sharing the cost of putting all the utilities underground to further enhance the look of the area. Both my neighbors have no issues with extending the front of the building and fully endorse the extension. The 35-foot setback would also not interfere in any neighborhood projects that might impede on current resident lots. Gas, fiber, and other utilities would have ample room to work with. There are some homes in IRB which currently encroach on the setbacks outlined in the building code, and in some cases are much closer to the street than what I am requesting. Because this addition will only be a 2-story structure, it will not look as ominous as a 3-story building, which follow the appropriate setback requirements. Thank you so much for your time this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Ed? Ed, can you tell me what you think your hardship is?
You know, I was trying to read through it again. In essence, I mean, the hardship is that, you know, there's just no way to put any type of pool on the property, which I think should be, obviously it's not a right, and it's not a hardship, but it's something that I would like to enjoy, like many of the other residents, and there's really no other place to put the pool right now other than in the front of the building, and I can't really do anything else other than block the pool because setback restrictions say you can't have a pool in front of a house.
Could you have, instead of encroaching on the 3 feet, I mean, that's not very much. I mean, could you have kept it within the guidelines for the city, from the city?
I'm only asking because, you know, my architect looked at it and said, man, we could do, he wanted to go for 5. And I said, I don't think I should go for that many feet. The problem is that because the pool has to be at least 5 feet from every structure, I have to give it ample space, or else I'd have like a 4-foot pool or something really ridiculously small to keep it far enough away from the buildings and to have some sort of garage space in the front of the house. So I figured we looked at it, and the optimal was, I said, let's go for 3. If I can get 3, it's better than nothing, and it's not as big as 5 feet. And really at 35 feet back, it's really not, I mean, we're 25-foot setback from the building, and then it's like an additional 13 feet, I guess because of the middle of the road. So rather than all 38 feet all the way back from the edge of the road, really it's only going to be 35 feet. So it's not a huge ask, and that's really...
So you are planning on living there year-round?
This is our primary resident now. We sold Orlando back in March. I owned a business there. I still own the business, but I'm trying to sell my business as well, and I just want to stay in Indian Rocks Beach.
Anyone have any other questions for Ed at this time? I want to ask. Yes, go ahead.
So is your, I'm just looking at the plans here, your intention is to leave the original building as is?
Correct.
And then everything else is going to be 2 stories behind it?
Correct. With being FEMA compliant building.
Yes. Okay.
Correct, yeah.
Is there, I mean, because now you've got 4 bedrooms up top there, plus, I mean...
Don't get focused on the 4 bedrooms up top, because I asked, because we just initially went with the first floor, and then, sorry to interrupt, by the way. I just really meant to sit, and Hetty said, I think you need a 2nd floor plan. So I had the guy just throw something together, but the 2nd floor plan is going to be more just offices, great room, something for my grandkids to enjoy. But he ended up throwing 4 bedrooms up there. And in the spirit of the last couple of meetings here, I don't want to give people the idea that I'm going to make this super Airbnb home, which what it looks like.
Yeah,
and that's, I'm sure, what you're,
that was
I mean, at the time it was great with this meeting. So I even said it to myself, I go, oh my God, that's going to look terrible.
No, it wasn't about the labeling, it was simply about the amount of space.
Yeah,
I was just wondering if it would be
to
possible to pull that back 3 feet from the front without detracting too much from the square footage of that entire 2nd floor.
It really starts to shrink up the garage space considerably as well. That was the other thing, as you can see, the car on the single car garage gets really squashed, and then the pool becomes extremely small. So I guess I was just trying to satisfy 2 requirements: a bigger garage and a bigger pool. And by doing that, I said, let's go for 3 feet. And now there are homes that are definitely a lot closer to the road that I'm asking for in Indian Rocks Beach. But I mean, I don't want to use past cases to prove my case.
Hetty, in the minutes from the BOA case, can you just explain the 2 that voted against it? Because that was a very close call, 3-2. What were the comments? I'd like everyone to know.
I think they just thought that, that they didn't want to approach, and that there could be some way to do it on the plan. But that was just really about it. And to make it, you know, it's a non-conforming structure to begin with, and then you're making it more non-conforming.
Phil?
The only thing is, first of all, other people that have the distance that they have close to the road and so forth, each case has to stand on its own. So,
Yeah,
that's
that's why
kind of the way that it works. If you were asking for a back square footage or something off the side, pretty good. Boy, when it comes to front square footages, our heels are kind of dug in, at least mine is. Is there any way that you might be able to maybe borrow a little bit out of the garage and borrow a little bit out of the pool to make your dream come true? And get your 3 feet that way? I mean, anything can be done.
I guess that's why I'm here to, obviously, trying not to go down that road.
Okay.
You know, and we've looked at it, and the architect's like, ugh, this is brutal.
Yeah.
You know, this is brutal. It's only because of the setbacks of the pool.
Right.
Of the 5 feet on each side. So if you think about it, even with a 10-foot wide pool,
right,
which is pretty narrow, it's a pretty narrow pool, and the 5-foot setbacks, we're talking at least 20 feet just to be from building to building. So I'm already, you know, I think it's from the road to the building, it's 70 feet, and then 20 feet all the way back up.
How big is the pool?
Not that big. I think it's only going to be about 10 by 13, 10 by 14, really tiny.
I've got a 5,000 gallon pool in my backyard.
This will be maybe less than that, actually. It's almost going to be an oversized spa, almost, in a sense, yeah. And that's it, this case.
Yeah.
If I go any other, if I get shorter by stealing from that garage, and stealing from, you know, it's going to become, you know, fountain of Trevi.
The biggest problem I have, perfectly honest, is the fact that I don't really see a hardship. It's not caused by the land. It's when you guys bought the property, you knew what you were buying. And if it wasn't the front, if there was something else where you could get some footage, you know, we're not here to poo-poo your idea, but we got our ordinances for a reason, and front setbacks are pretty critical to us.
I think, I mean, the fact that it's, you know, 38 feet, 35 feet versus 38 feet, I mean, I don't think you're going to see a huge difference there.
Visually, I understand what you're talking about.
You know, and it's not like, I mean, when you look at, and I'm glad Hetty brought up my neighbor's home, you know, when you say visually, I see Taj Mahal next to me every day I come home, and all I'm trying to do is put up, you know, a garage and a couple of rooms. I don't want to put up 5,300 square foot of monstrosity. It just takes away the quaintness of the neighborhood. It takes away a lot from the neighborhood when you start putting up, you know, I get it, people, you know, I understand. You know, I bought before the recent ridiculousness in prices, and people have to get money per square foot, and I get all that nonsense that's happening this day and age, but I'm trying to create something that's quaint, something that is good enough for my wife and I, something that my grandkids can enjoy, but not create this, oh my God, here it comes Taj Mahal 3, you know, another 5,000 square foot home in Indian Rock Beach, which loses its quaintness, and hopefully, you know, that hopefully 20 years when I sell, or God forbid I'm still around, you know, when somebody said, hey, look at this looks like a great Airbnb house. I don't want that to happen either, you know, I plan on leaving this to my kids and so forth and so on. But I'm just trying to create a nice, quaint environment.
I appreciate that.
That's about it. I don't want
Joe, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, see what Phil's talking about. However, trying to improve any property, as his architect alluded, nowadays creates any type of hardship. My personal opinion, I don't have an issue personally.
If I may interrupt, at this stage of the hearing, we're at questions for the applicant, as there may be additional testimony at this
Okay,
stage.
sorry. So no, I don't have any questions at this point.
Okay. Jude, any more questions?
Yeah, what is the additional square, oh, sorry.
Speaking to the mic, sorry about that.
What is the additional square footage that you want to add, including the garage space?
The upstairs would be 1,000 square feet roughly. And so, I mean, you can multiply it by 2. Garage space, with the garage in the lot lanai would be 1,000, but that's an open lanai. It's not air conditioned space, obviously, because it's a first floor FEMA compliant building. And so that would just be storage, garage at 1,000 square feet, and upstairs would just be 1,000. So I'm only at, I have a 950 square foot home right now. That little building in the back is 950. So at most I'm at 1950-ish total. I didn't want to have to tear down the house and put down, I just didn't want to have to tear it down. Just don't want to do that. I really don't want to be that guy.
Any more questions for Ed? If not, I'm going to have him have a seat right here in the front. We'll go back to, I think Hetty, do you have anything else to say before I go to public comment?
No, I don't.
Okay. Greg, do you?
I'm good.
Okay. Right now, then, we'll open public comment. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on this BOA case? Hearing none, I'll close the public comment. Hetty, anything else?
No, not at this time.
Ed, do you want to get back and just say any last few minutes? You have nothing yet? Okay. This is our time to discuss this, Commission. Is there anything that you would like to bring to the Commission about this agenda item?
Joe, probably to
Joe.
finish where you stopped us.
Sorry, I was speaking out of turn. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. Thanks, Randy. Keep me straight, my friend. Yeah, why don't you gavel me? Straighten me up. It's been a long day. As I was stating, it appears, the applicant's trying to do everything they can between us, as a city, our ordinances, FEMA, and everyone else to try to bring his property to standard. We don't have any issues on either side. The house, as he said, the larger house right next is there already. Personally, I just, he's not trying to fit anything overly abundant in here. You have to have X amount of feet for cars, you have to have, X amount of feet for stairway. He's trying to build within FEMA's guidelines. Just me personally, I don't have an issue with it.
Jude? You're
What
up.
were some of the city's objections, if I may ask?
Yes, well, now, let me ask you that. When an applicant files an application for variance, it's their burden to show what the hardship is. So 99% of the time, we're gonna recommend denial, because most lots are buildable. So that's answering that question.
Most lots are buildable.
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
Well, and this is a non-conforming lot.
No, the structure on the lot's not conforming, but the lots is standard size RV lot.
Okay. Well, any other comments?
I have a question. Sorry for my mouth being full, I didn't think I'd come back to this, but can anything be done with the pool in the side setbacks? In other words, if you were able to take that pool and maybe go into the sides just a little bit, bring this back in?
You may make the pool smaller?
Well, kind of like instead of making what it is, go into the side encroachments, the 5 feet on the sides.
Well, that's a building code.
Yeah.
Which we don't oversee.
Okay.
Pinellas County does, so.
All right.
Okay, so explain that. It's a building.
It's a building code for the distance from the house to the pool.
Okay.
It's not a land development code.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
And I'm just trying to find a way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm looking for a motion one way or the other at this point.
I'll motion to approve BOA case 2022-12.
Is there a second?
As you consider whether to second, please be reminded that a motion is only for the purpose of placing the item on the table for the body to deliberate and vote.
Is there a second?
Absent a second to the motion, the body has functionally, would be deemed to have functionally voted to deny the relief, as there is no motion to approve that has been put on the table for the body to vote. Absent a second, the relief requested would be deemed denied. So, Mayor, at this stage, unless there is a second, I would say that the matter is deemed resolved in the form of a denial by the body for the body's lack of motion on the relief requested.
Okay, with hearing no second, this motion is denied. Thank you. Other legislative matters, 7A, ordinance number 2022-03. With that, I'm going to, Randy, will you read?
I will happily, Madam Mayor, allow me to just get to the agenda item within the packet. This brings us now to the, to ordinance number 2022-03, an ordinance of the City of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, City Commission, Division 1, generally Section 2-31, compensation of members, providing for an increase in the City Commission's monthly compensation, providing for severability, providing for repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith to the extent of such conflict, and providing for an effective date. This has been a first reading ordinance number 2022-03 by title only.
Thank you. Greg, would you like to, or Deanne?
Yeah.
This is, excuse me, this is ordinance number 2022-03, and it's first reading on an increase in the City Commission's monthly compensation by $100. If it is approved on second and final reading, it would become effective after certification of the March election. And I just wanted to give them some information. It would be, the mayor's salary would go from $600 to $700 per month, and the city commissioner's salary would go from $500 to $600 per month. The last time the city commission did receive an increase in their salary was 2015. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have anything to say at this time on this? Do you have any comments? Hearing?
Denise, are you good?
Yeah, I have no comment.
Hearing none, I will open the public comment. Is there anyone who'd like to speak at this time? Hearing none, I will close the public comment, and with that, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is she allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Denise made a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second. Any comment from the maker on the telephone?
Yeah, I think we deserve a raise.
Okay, and anything from the second?
No.
Okay. With that, do we need to, Deanne, would you like to?
Commissioner Hannah?
Could you already go outside?
Sure.
I did.
Okay, so
Yes.
Excuse me?
No, you're fine.
Commissioner McCall,
Yes.
Commissioner Bond,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hausberg,
Absolutely, yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes, motion carries. Okay, with that, we're going to go to 8A, which is our work session tonight on the discussion of the IRB curbside recycling program. And with that, I'm going to go to you, Greg, correct?
Yeah.
And then to Dean.
Yeah, I'll kick it off and
Okay.
pass it over to the expert.
Okay,
Who
thank
is
you.
an expert.
Yes, he is the expert.
As the commission knows, the city's been in the recycling business for how long, Dean?
12 years.
12 years. Dean's been here for about 500 years, so he knows how long we've been here. And I mentioned at the last commission meeting that at this meeting we'd be able to provide the commission with an update about recycling and the city's recycling options. And we're prepared to do that. So Dean's going to take the lead in that, and then throughout the conversation, I know I'll have a couple of comments, and Dan may have it, so I'm going to turn it over to Dean and let him run with it.
Well, thank you, Greg. First and foremost, I'd like to inform the commission of the many facets of the solid waste program we have here. The city of Indian Rocks Beach operates a solid waste collection program on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for the collection of household waste and commercial waste that we take to Pinellas County Waste Management Plant. On Wednesdays, we have a contract with a recycling vendor for the collection of the curbside single-stream recycling, which is the blue truck you see in the blue bins. As Greg mentioned, we've had a curbside recycling program for numerous years. Our current contract will expire in December 31st, 2022. In August, as part of the contract, Greg sent a request out to extend our current contract for an additional 2-year period that was allowable by the contract. Our current contractors indicated that the contract couldn't be extended under the same terms due to increased operating costs they're experiencing, fuel, labor, capital, inflation. I have a letter dated in your packet for that. Our contractor did provide a revised contract estimate for the single family and the condominium pickup, which would equate to an 88% increase to the current contract. Based upon this information, the City Commission may consider the following options. We could discontinue the curbside recycling program in its entirety. The city has the right to terminate the contract and exit that contract with 60 days written notice to the contract. This option may have a potential future cost savings to the solid waste recycling budget and rate structure. Item number 2 for your consideration would be to continue with the curbside recycling program with the current contractor, including accepting the additional operating costs. This will have a cost increase to the solid waste recycling budget of 88%, as previously mentioned, and increased rates for both residential and commercial customers. Option number 3 would be to implement a hybrid recycling drop-off program within the city at specific sites, specifically Brown Park, City Hall, Nature Reserve, and Keegan Clare Park, accepting the recycling commodities of aluminum and corrugated cardboard only. This option has a potential future cost savings to the solid waste recycling budget and rate structure. Item number 4 would be to obtain a request for bid for the curbside recycling program through a piggyback contract process. This option will have a cost increase to the solid waste recycling budget and rate structure based on current recycling market and other bid information we recently received from other municipalities. Recent RFPs from Madeira Beach would reflect a minimum of 50% increase to our existing costs. We have appropriated funding in the solid waste department budget for a recycling program in the amount of $239,610. That's the 4 options that the City Commission is being presented tonight for your consideration, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Who'd like to start? Do you want to start, Phil, or Jude? Okay.
Sure. Hey, how are you? Thanks for taking me down to the recycling center the other day.
I heard you had quite the day.
Oh, it was great. It was awesome. Fascinating. I recommend it to everybody. I'm looking forward to the incinerator next.
I've been there
Maybe
too.
next month. I think that's what we discussed.
He's talking about, so tell.
Oh, yeah, so Dean took me down to the recycling center and they gave me a behind-the-scenes tour. It's fascinating.
It is.
All right, so now the hybrid model, just aluminum and just corrugated, correct?
That's our recommendation for your consideration.
And have you calculated the savings on that one?
At this time, due to the extending our current contract with an outside vendor for our cardboard and the additional containers we would need to accept the aluminum and transport the aluminum, stuff like that, a identified cost has not been determined this time. We believe we can accommodate that within the funding we have in our current appropriation in the recycling budget now.
And I presume that people have tried to negotiate with them down from their 12 point, whatever it is.
We have not negotiated with anyone on any portion of the contract. It would be premature to sit and negotiate with a contract. Well, first and foremost, the 88% increase would obviously require a budget amendment and would have to have direction from the city commission. We've had other vendors approach me indicating the opportunity to talk to us and possibly negotiate a contract with them. However, again, without receiving direction from the commission and another vendor having a contract in place, the minimum amount that I can see us is a minimum of 50% cost increase to your existing rate based on the bid tabulation I received from Madeira Beach.
Can you explain just briefly what piggyback means?
Yes. The city of Rocks Beach, through our purchasing ordinance, has the opportunity to utilize any existing contract through the state of Florida or any other municipality on a current bid that's on the street. Which means if Madeira Beach had a contract for recycling, and hypothetically they said our contract for recycling is $10 a month, the city of Rocks Beach could contact the vendor they signed a contract with and ask them if in fact the city could piggyback on the Madeira Beach contract, which would include all of their terms and conditions and their rate structure. Where that's allowable through our purchasing ordinance.
Now, I just want to clarify too, based on what we're paying for this, that I believe from our discussion it comes to about $6 a household right now. Is that correct?
Correct. Well, it's about $6.29 per household right now, and their projected proposal to us would be an increase for single family from $6.29 to $12.30.
So, however, this $6 is accommodated for in the basic rate that's factored into the rates that people pay for their utilities, right?
At this time, the recycling is included within the monthly solid waste fee that the residents pay at this time, correct?
So it's sort of...
So, and is that a week or a month or
We
what?
have a monthly rate that you pay for your solid waste.
Okay.
But if we were to accept, for example, the increased rate, it might come to an increase of about $6 per household per month.
That if we
were to pass that on to the end consumer.
If you were to direct staff to extend the contract based on the proposal we received from Waste Connections, it would be an increase to residential programs of $6.30 per month, and an increase to the condominium association per pickup. Overall increase would be an 88% increase to your current contract costs.
So what that, and if I could just chime in here too, so what that would mean is when you adopted the budget, you adopted an ordinance that increased the solid waste fees. And when that ordinance was adopted, the residential increase was $1. What was it? $0.39. What you need to be clear about is if you just roll over and go with renegotiate at that kind of increase, we're going to I need to turn around, and y'all have to authorize another ordinance that you would adopt that would basically double the rates that they're paying for recycling.
And what is the rate every 2 months per household for the bundled utilities?
It's billed bi-monthly along with your water and sewer bill
Yeah.
from the county. So what you see is bi-monthly. And with the approved budget, the effective rate increase went to $62.50 bi-monthly for a single-family resident.
So it would go roughly from 31 to
$31.25.
$37 if we were to pass on that.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. There's really, to absorb the increase, it would have to be passed on to the folks. And yeah, it's roughly about exactly what the increase that they're offering would have to be passed on.
I'll be done for a little bit.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
like
let's
you,
make a couple comments if you
Yes.
want to finish.
well, let's go
Okay.
with these guys first, and then, because I know you have some comments. Okay. Joe, do you have anything at this time?
Yeah, even though I'm pretty good at math, this may be a dang question. Can you put those numbers in real dollars for me? So the Madeira Beach would be a 50% increase, so you're talking 100.
Well, we have nothing.
I know what you're saying, but you're speaking in percentages, and I like dollars.
Okay, well, dollars, right now we pay like $630 per house. And then there's a commercial rate.
Budget. We pay $239,000.
That's correct. There you go, $239,610.
So we pay $239,610 right now. They're saying
It's an
they can't do the job for that anymore.
88% increase, so that's about 210,000 and change on top of that 239
Okay.
from the existing vendor for what they offered us upon Greg's request as the manager to extend the contract.
And just remind me if you could, what was our increased budget this year already? We added 200 and...
The old contract and the
No,
provision
in general.
maxed out at 3%.
Our general budget increased by how much this year? 200 and...
I'm not following you, sir. The overall general funding increase
that we just
from last
approved.
year was like 200 something thousand. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Well, that's general fund, so that's not really.
The solid waste is its own separate fund. So it's not, solid waste is not in the general fund.
I think what you're asking is, we ask and you guys approve for a 6% increase to the solid waste customers throughout our community, both commercial and residential. So whether it's a can or a dumpster, everybody's bill went up 6% on October 1st.
Okay. And again, as we've talked, we don't really know what we're getting here, right? We've spoken about kind of recycling in and out, and that's kind of how we got here. And we've spoken about the overall budget for recycling. So is it just inflation, or is that with these folks, or they're just not making any money anymore? They alluded to why they're doubling the bill.
We really can't speak to that.
Okay.
But what I can speak to is that, Pinellas County is a pretty big county, but realistically, if you go through the exercise, particularly, one of the options is to put out a bid and receive bids. You know very well that the people who are going to bid are the same group of people that bid in Madeira Beach, so I can imagine, since they bid at that rate in Madeira Beach, that somehow magically, then they would bid some greatly cheaper price to us. I don't see how that works, and particularly with one of the bidders, I think, is in the process of negotiating with Madeira Beach. But that's just the market. And it's, like our operation, it's probably more tied to just the cost of doing business. And they have the same issues that we have on staffing and hiring folks and fees that they have to pay. And, the current recycler that we use, and we talked about this 2 or 3 different times, but for example, on glass, there's no market for glass. When glass is taken down to, and I'll address this in a minute, when we think it's taken down to St. Petersburg, they separate out the glass, they haul it to a company in Sarasota, and our contract recycling company has to pay to get rid of it. And that's why, one of the options is the cardboard and the cans, because there's a market for that. But there's things that are thrown in recycling cans that there's just not a lot you can do with it, other than what Dean mentioned, you know, one of the primary functions of solid waste is to pick up garbage in the regular garbage cans, and those are taken to the landfill, and they roll up, they dump them out, they generate power. And the things that don't burn fall out the bottom, and the county tries to do different things with whatever they have left. But anyway, what past that.
You answered my question.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Do you have any comments before I go to Greg?
Not really. I pretty well understand where we're at. We've got 4 choices. And if we decide, is there going to be a point in time where we're going to ask the public, especially if we come up, we're going to make an ordinance, we're going to have to advertise it and so forth, right? It's going to be an increase.
Yeah, if you renegotiate with your current provider, or you put it out for bid and then you accept the bidder, and we know that the price is not going to be what we're paying now, you'll have to accept the bid, and then any changes you make on the rates has to be done by ordinance. You have to have 2 public hearings to amend the rates. And I don't want to forget Denise, by the way.
Huh?
I don't want to forget Denise.
Oh, Denise, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just think that our current way of managing recycling and the escalating costs no longer makes any sense for us. And that, you know, using an alternative hybrid recycling drop-off program makes much more sense to the amount of recycling that we actually do on the island.
Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to add, you know, citizens have the best intentions. We all have the best intentions. Everybody wants to recycle. You want to think that you're doing the right thing, you're doing for the environment. And so then we find out that what we're trying to do and our citizens are trying to do is not what's happening with the products that we are putting in the recycling bins and the contamination issue. And one of the things that you've noticed, nobody's talked about the plastic bottles. Well, the plastic bottles are being taken to the incinerator. Now, some of these things are making electricity for almost 100,000, I think it is, people in this. I don't know the exact number, I shouldn't say numbers, but there is that piece to what's going on, that there is, some of the things are being burned for electricity, like Greg said. And some environmentalists don't think that's a good idea either. It depends how you look at it. We're making electricity for people or not. When this first came up 4 years ago, I actually talked to the group that we have, and they said that we had an increase then. And we were told in 2 to 3 years that this problem they felt that it would take care of itself. But that is not what has happened here. Now we have a, you know, almost, it's 88% increase. And for me, it's very sad. It's very sad that we can't find a way to do this that isn't expensive. And that, you know, I think that recycling should be part of who we are, you know, and trying to help our environment and our community. I don't have a problem with the hybrid. I wish there was something we could do with the plastics. That just makes me nuts. But Greg, I'm going to throw it to you now, because I want you to kind of tell me about your story and what happened.
Yeah, I appreciate it. One thing that I dread bringing this factor into the discussion, but it's a fact. You know, one thing that factors in, you know, the option that you pick is that in addition to the world market changing, and you know, we talked about this before, China and Vietnam used to buy anything and everything the United States would produce, and that went away, and that's, everybody that I've talked to thinks that way, that's not coming back. So that's what really threw the thing out a lot of kilter. But one of the things that's changed locally for us is that we've had over 250 properties in the residential areas changed to VRBOs. And people that are here for vacation, most would care less about the two different cans, the color of the cans and what the cans mean. I can tell you, we've cited a number of VRBO operators for solid waste and garbage. And, you know, when somebody's there for their vacation and the regular can gets full and the other can gets full, so you can just count out generally the majority of the 250 because they're just not going to participate. And that's not, you know, that sounds very negative, but I mean, if you're on here for vacation and you're here from Chicken State, Kansas, and you're not really into recycling or you really didn't know how to work, you know, it's just not your thing. So the world market's not changed, our community has changed. And one thing that we've talked about is, and there's a running debate about what percentage of the materials that residents in general throw in the recycling can actually get recycled. And I'm going to defer to Dean for a minute. Dean, what is your learned guess on the actual amount out of the amount that our vendor picks up? What percentage is actually recycled?
Well, if you take it in its totality, we know that they've estimated and provided us an estimate of 20% is contaminated that they have to take to the waste energy plant. They also have indicated to us that about 20% of it is glass, which has no value, and they pay to take it down and dispose of it between the truck fees. So out of the 750 tons that we're recycling a year, 60% of that is probably recycled. That's actually getting sold to a vendor for reuse.
And another thing, a couple other considerations or comments about this is that, you know, and I think Cookie particularly has mentioned this before, our residents are very well educated, I believe, on recycling. You know, there was an extra effort by the city 2 years ago, 3 years ago to put a sticker on top of the can reminding people. But the fact is, even when those items are picked up in Indian Rock's Beach, if they go to St. Petersburg and they're dumped on the big concrete slide down there, they get mixed in with everybody else's. So we could have 100%, you know, success rate and not contaminate anything, and when it gets taken, or, you know, for that matter, we had a meeting with our current provider, and I asked the question, I said, the trucks that are used for recycling, what do y'all do with those when you're not picking up recycling? And they said, we'll pick up garbage. And I said, so we're putting our recycling in the back of a garbage truck. And you know what garbage trucks smell like, look like, right? So even that. But so the percentage of what you actually net out of these hardworking residents that go through the effort of recycling is debatable. Because I promise you I could bring in 2 or 3 people from the county that are involved in this and maybe some other companies, and they probably all have a different percentage of what the guesstimate is. But one thing that I'm obligated to bring to your attention is that about a month ago, I was meeting with Dan and Dean, and we were preparing for this meeting and trying to get all our information together. And actually, the idea came from Mr. Carpenter, is that we bought 2 air tags, and it was delivered to my hands, and I walked over and handed these 2 air tags to Dean. Dean took 2 plastic bottles, cut the top out. We activated the air tags and put them in the bottles. They were, and I can't pull up right now because Denise is on here, but they're still connected to my phone. He went to 2 locations in the city. He put the air tags in the bottles in 2 different trash cans. In our recycling on Wednesday. And I had mentioned that to my sweet wife that we deployed 2 air tags, and about 8 o'clock Wednesday night, she goes, have you checked on your air tags? And I said, no, let me do that. And the reason why we did 2 was that, you know, the way garbage trucks work is that they dump the cans in there, and then when they get full, they pull the lever, or whatever that is named, and the back of the truck comes down and it scrapes up, pulls the garbage up. we deployed 2 of them because there's a good chance that we're gonna lose one that would, that would be, the device would be crushed when it was pulled in. So when I pulled up the tracking device for the AirTags, we put one in a trash can on 18th Avenue, and it died where it was picked up. You could tell that, because it still shows up on 18th Avenue. So obviously when the can got dumped and they pulled it in the garbage truck, it ceased to function. The other one left Indian Rocks Beach and went straight to the landfill. It was dumped at like 3, I forget exactly what time, 3:15 in the afternoon. So what that means is, and I'm not accusing, and let me say this too, I need to say this for the record. The contract we have with our provider is they're obligated to come to Indian Rocks Beach on Wednesdays and pick up recycling. Once they pick up the recycling, they legally can do whatever they want to with it, which, it's kind of a good thing, bad thing. The bad part about it is, if you're not taking that full truck and taking it to have it sorted and do the things that people expect to be done with it, then the people that have spent their time putting all that material in the can, they just wasted all their time. So we had the one AirTag that survived, went straight to the landfill, and we're assuming that it was backed up and dumped and burned in the electric plant out there. And the reason why, and I don't think we touched on this tonight when we talked about this before, under the current rates that we're paying for recycling, we pay, our expense is about 4 times what it costs us to just pick up garbage by our own guys and take it to the landfill. So now, I hate to bring that up, but for transparency reasons, I really wish that we'd done this earlier. In fact, my next city manager, we get together once a month. I'm going to suggest they all buy AirTags that they have for companies and just see where their stuff's going, because that might have been a one-day thing. Dean and Dan and I were sitting trying to look at the other side of the story and figure out, well, why maybe this is a one and out kind of thing. Why would they do that? But it's just, it just leaves me with based on, it just leaves me with a feeling of, we're paying that much, and we randomly deploy 2 AirTags. One gets crushed, the other one in the truck, the one truck that put it in, or the one truck that the can, the bottle lines up in, goes straight to the landfill. So let me just say this. We laid out the 4 options that we believe that we have. Like any other policy decision, whatever the commission decides to do, we'll implement what you decide. One of the benefits of the hybrid program, if you go that route, is number 1, you're staying in the recycling business. But number 2, probably most importantly to us, as we talked about it, is that if you're in the cardboard, aluminum can business, is that we can look y'all in the face and tell you where it's going, that it's being recycled. As Dean mentioned, there's things that, no matter what decision you make, things would have to be worked out. Is that if you go with a hybrid, then Dean's got to negotiate a new deal with Largo, because they're picking up at one location. If we do this, they would pick up at 4. So we've got to cross our fingers and hope that they get on board with that. But the good news is, if we get that worked out, the cardboard is legitimately being recycled. And then the aluminum that would be put in the containers, our folks that work for Dean and Solid Waste, they would be literally the ones that would empty those and take those to a facility. Where is it, Dean?
It's in Middle Largo.
Largo, and sell them. So we have, so the point being is that we have control of the recycling coming in and where it's going, and residents, reaping the full benefit of their efforts. So, kind of rambled to different things, but I just wanted, it's important, as y'all consider what you want to do going forward, that you know what we know.
Okay.
Can I speak to my experience at the dump for a moment?
Yes.
Okay. Just quickly, I can entirely see a scenario where that AirTag could be in the dump by 3 p.m., still complying with the full recycling process, just because of, I mean, it all goes to the one place, gets scraped, then it gets dumped in the sorter, then they do the cardboard first, then the paper, then they start shooting out the glass, then there's the plastics, then there's the aluminum, then the steel. Some of it's sorted by hand, some of it's sorted by robots. It's all it's a combination of futuristic and super manual. However, they have said that 20% of what they end up with goes into this loose stuff of plastics that can't be recycled, etc., as well as little chunks of whatever else. Another 20% is that glass, also all the little caps for your plastic bottles. That all goes down to that facility in Sarasota that we have to pay them to take. So 20%, the first 20% we end up incinerating anyway. So it's not like that 20% doesn't get used. I mean, it just gets taken to the incinerator, and that air tag, very well, if it was put into some cut up plastic bottle, maybe that bottle wasn't compliant, got thrown in the incinerator. There's all sorts of ways that could happen. But I would like to say that I think that the operation that I saw the other day, and I don't think they were putting on a big show for me, was pretty solid and very organized, very clean. And I would like to say that it's perfectly fine to put your pizza boxes in the recycling. They are not that picky about mess. You know, it all works itself out. Cardboard gets turned into pulp, paper gets turned into pulp, it all gets bleached, it gets pressed. I mean, pizza grease doesn't bother it. So there's a lot more going on at that center than people just casually pushing it into the dump and burning it. And I think that it would behoove anybody to go talk to them about it too, if they really wanted a better idea of what the numbers might be, because I saw it all bundled. They have 8 different categories. They put it in these big bales, and it's not haphazard. So, you know, anyway, that's what I saw.
Do we want to, I would like to hear the public.
Yeah.
Okay, so if everybody's okay with that at this time, is there anyone in the public who'd like to come up and speak at this time?
My name is Ed Farmer. I'm with Waste Pro of Florida. I'm here with Derek Hunt, who's the district manager of our local facility here in Pinellas County. And we also have a material recovery facility down in Sarasota. So most of the communities that we pick up locally for recycling, we transport it to our facility in Sarasota. And it does get, as you said, we've been talking about what happens to it. And you did a great job of what happens at a material recovery facility. But even our historical data shows only about 18 to 20% doesn't go to market. It does end up in an incinerator or landfill. But the other 80 to 82% does get processed and goes to market. And even glass right there in Sarasota, we're next to the facility Strategic Materials that processes glass. Glass is a wonderful recyclable because you can do it infinitely, just as aluminum, just as steel cans. The thing we have to remember is sometimes you have to pay for those. Right now we're just at the tip of the market. First we got hit with China, they call it the green sword. Then right after that we go right into COVID, and then the Ukraine war, where we've got gas prices at historical prices, we've got labor shortages, things of that nature. So it's just right now, we're at a tip of where the market is at for recycling prices and for labor and all of that. It's like my 401k, it's down here right now, but it's gonna come back up as well. But what we're looking at, and what I would like to stress to everyone is, it's hard to go backwards once you start recycling. We have to do it because we have to remember why it was put in. The purpose of recycling in the first place was to save natural resources. It wasn't here because you didn't make money off of that commodity. So if you don't make money off that material, okay, we don't take it to market, you still take it to market. Glass is a perfect example. It can be reused. It's just not, you're not making the money off of it you'd like to. But that's not why recycling was put in place in the first place. The goal was to save natural resources. The waste energy plant, it's a great glass defense. But the problem would be if every community started taking it to the waste to energy plant, Pinellas County solid waste people would be in here telling you, no, don't, because they're running out of capacity at the waste to energy plant. They can't handle it without upgrading and building onto that facility. But again, the overarching issue is we should be recycling for the right reasons. Not because it costs a little bit more money, and yes, that's quite a bit increase right now, I get that. But it will be coming back down. So that's what I ask, just make sure when you make your decisions, make it for the right reason. Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at this time?
Hi, Kelly Watt, 431 Harbor
Hold
Drive.
that down so we can hear
This is
you.
better. Kelly Watt, Harbor Drive, 431 Harbor Drive. So this is a great discussion. Thank you guys so much. It's so complicated. So I guess I had 2 questions or thoughts. One is there anything different than what we're currently taking and accepting and recycling that maybe we shouldn't? Like maybe do we just adjust, right? So we were saying the cardboard's really gets reused and the aluminum gets reused. Is there, maybe we still do the recycling, but maybe just adjust that list of what's appropriate that goes on the top of those cans, right? If the bottles aren't used, if the glass isn't used, maybe we don't recycle that. I don't know, that's just a question, I don't know that answer. And then the second thing about the short-term rentals, which is on everybody's mind always now, I do think they're not recycling, so would it make any sense just to not even offer those bins at those properties? Because I see the same thing, they're just full of trash, so maybe we just pull those out as one thought. That's it.
Thank you very, very much. Is there anyone else at this time who'd like to speak?
This is John Thayer, 1819 Bay Boulevard. I'd like to reiterate what the gentleman said. It's our duty to recycle. And ever since China backed out, you know, if they got upset with us and only wanted clean recycle, the prices shot up, we know that. My cousin runs the incinerator. He's in charge of that whole setup over there. And I talked to him about this the other day because there was a rumor going around that all the recycle in Dunedin, which, you know, I recycle for Cal DCI, we send over to Dunedin, was just going right into the landfill. And he said that's absolutely not true. They won't let them get into the landfill. All right? And he said that the incinerator has a permit for like X number of BTUs. They're already at their max. They can't take any more trash. And when they get up to that trash level, it goes in the landfill in Pinellas County. All right? And he said they are urging all the communities in Pinellas County to recycle as much as they can because it's already overloading the landfill. So I think, you know, we need to figure something out and keep trying to recycle.
Anyone else like to come forward at this time?
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
My name's Derek Hunt. I'm the division manager for Pinellas. Like Ed said, 2 things I just wanted to reiterate. That's absolutely correct. We are the recycling haulers for Dunedin, and we do not take that to Pinellas County. We actually have a good setup at the city of Dunedin to ensure that. They have GPS tracking on all of our trucks, so they actually see day to day where our equipment goes through their city and actually where it goes to our disposal site, Recycling Services of Florida, where it's then taken down to our MRF down in Sarasota. The other thing I just wanted to reiterate too was the waste isn't going away whether you recycle it or put in the trash. So if you're eliminating on the recycling side, you're just generating more waste. And to that point, with the airspace at the Pinellas County, there is also, Pinellas County has issued disposal increases over the next 3 years at 6.8% each year. So that is something to take in, take into consideration as well. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at this time? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public comment. Do you have anything, Dean, that you'd like to add? Or
I have nothing further.
Greg?
We just await your direction.
You know, in listening to all the comments, there's this one side that's business, and then there's one side that's who you are as a person. And you're right, we are here to do what we can for the environment. And, you know, that bothers me that, you know, the bigger picture is the natural resources. And it comes down to what your ideologies are on how you view where we go in Indian Rocks Beach with this issue. And the things that I do know is that over 65% of the people who live in Indian Rocks Beach wanted recycling when we sent out a card many, many years ago, okay? I also was told by the company that we use that Indian Rocks Beach residents were one of the best at recycling and knew what they were supposed to do. We've had numerous people from the recycling come here to show because some of the things that we didn't know. So it's a very hard conversation for me. I think the financial piece is ridiculous to do that to us and to any of the cities. But I think there is a bigger umbrella that we are here and to save our environment and our natural resources. So with that, I don't know what all of you want to do. Should we, you know, we could start the hybrid, but at the same time go out and look for some other companies. We can't do that, why not?
There's too much involved in that. Because if we start the hybrid, we have to negotiate with Largo, and y'all have to approve a contract with them. We're on such a time crunch now where it's, you have to pick one, and we go there. I mean, just if we go the route of renegotiating with the current provider, that's going to take some time to negotiate and then bring back an updated plan. But there's no way we could do dual things. That's not going to work.
What about a different provider?
Well, that's all laid out in 1 through 4. Maybe we should just go through those again.
Okay, let's go through that.
One is to discontinue recycling altogether. Everything's picked up and taken to the landfill. 2 is to continue curbside recycling, and y'all would authorize us to negotiate with Waste Connections for an extended contract. 3 is the hybrid program. That would involve discussions with Largo to get them to agree to pick up at 3 more locations, and then we have to work out somewhere to take the aluminum. And 4 would just be to start clean and put out an RFP and get bids. Out of the 4, that's probably my least one I would recommend because of the time frame that we're into. So really, because of what we're dealing with, you really got the 3 options of discontinue, which doesn't sound like we're doing that. So really you're left with negotiate with our current provider or do the hybrid. What do you think, you know, or maybe these guys can answer, y'all know when will you think negotiations, you already negotiating with Madeira Beach, correct? When do you think that'll be completed?
They anticipate on that being completed in November. So the next, like November 15th, around that time in November.
Well, then we'll have the numbers from Madeira Beach if you wanted to do a piggyback process, which may be less expensive than our current.
But the only thing
I don't know that.
But the only thing you have to do about piggybacking on somebody else's contract is if you piggyback, you have to take the exact terms and conditions of what. So like number of days they pick up and schedules and all that. It's you're crossing your finger if you go that route that we would agree, that y'all would agree, or we'd recommend all the terms and conditions. So but it's an option, but it creates a time problem because of the calendar that we're under. So hybrid, renegotiate, or you wait out and then see if we can piggyback, and then you just cross your fingers that we would agree to all the terms that the Deer Beach places on their contract.
Any comments? Yes, Jude.
I do want to just point out the amount of money that we're talking about. I know it seems huge when you look at it this way, Joe. But I also want to point out that it's only about $1.50 per household per week, like one candy bar a week per household is what we're talking about. So this is not, I mean, that's, I think, an amount that we could legitimately ask the public to absorb. We could ask, not insist, but ask, for sure. The other thing is that, yeah, the hybrid thing, I don't know, that would be hard to put together quickly, wouldn't it?
No.
We just discontinue the current one when it expires.
Our current contract with Waste Connections terminates the last day of December.
And after that, it just gathers right now. If we don't re-sign, then it just, there's no more contract.
Right. If we don't, with your current provider, if we don't renegotiate, we're done with them on December the 31st.
Joe, you have any comments? Anything else you want to add?
No.
Please, any on you, Al?
She said no. No, I just, me personally, which he just kind of reiterated, I do think, given the current state of the market, a 50 to 80% increase when we're already paying 4 times as much for our standard pickup. And I do look at it as a business.
I know, but Joe, and I do too, but.
I mean, I do look at it as a business, and I'm a steward of the sea, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm a conservationist, I'm on the water all the time. I hate what it is, but it is what it is. I mean, we can't just continue to spend money, even though, whatever, it's $1 here, $1 there, it's 200 grand here, 200 grand there.
Adds up.
It adds up.
I have a
And
question.
I mean, that, and if they had the ability to not charge us this, they would, which means it's the state of the marketplace, he just stated. Now, you know, and no, I'm not talking 6 months from now, but a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if the market comes back. I mean, if they do get where they get back at a decent price point for us to do this and make it financially make sense, then I'm 100% on board. But an 88% increase to our current budget when we're already paying 4 times as much for it, just fiscally makes no sense to me. Even though I'd love to do the right thing, and I understand where you're coming from.
Can I address the 4 times as much thing really quickly?
Yes.
So the 4 times as much thing, that's based on dumping fees, right? I mean, so basically the cost to take the landfill versus the cost of recycling.
Well, what I gave you, in the information I gave you, we budget, if you take your average tipping fees per month right now, we're budgeting about $227,000 for your household waste, which you get 2 times a week service and all your commercial. And your budget for your recycling program is like $239,000.
And that includes all city infrastructure for the waste program or just the dumping fees?
Now, the tipping fees is part of the solid waste operating budget.
Okay, do you see what I'm wondering though? Is if, because the fees that we're paying for recycling are for the entire recycling program. I'm just trying to see what is the entirety of the fees that we're paying for the trash program. I want to make sure we're doing apples and apples, as they say.
Okay, right now, you're disposing of solid waste, which is your household trash, about 4,761 tons a year of solid waste, going to waste management. Our numbers for recycling are 750 tons.
And we pay a certain amount obviously, for each. But my question is, do we have costs associated with our waste program, not the recycling program, but the solid waste program, that do not get factored into that $200,000 roughly, say?
Yes, you have costs in the solid waste operating budget. You have
But you don't have-
salaries,
but you don't have-
you have capital, you have operational costs, fuel, gas, and all that.
Yeah, so in fact, it's significantly more expensive than $191,000 or whatever to operate the solid waste program.
I believe the question was, what do I pay in disposal fees for solid waste versus what I'm paying for the recycling program? The overall budget for solid waste, I believe, is like 1.4 million.
Okay, so it's 1.4 million for solid waste versus 200.
That's total, that includes the $240,000 for the recycling program.
You see where I'm going with this? That we're not paying 200 or 191,000 for our solid waste disposal. We're paying that plus all of the costs associated with making that happen. That's every truck, every dollar of gas, every salary, every Christmas bonus, all of that stuff is getting paid for on top of the 191, whatever, for the solid waste. So it's probably more like $1 million total.
Well, if you took out the 2 tipping fees, it'd be right around $1 million to operate it without those 2 costs.
Yeah, that's kind of, yeah. So it's not really 4 times as much to dump.
Yeah, you would incur the same cost no matter what. You gotta pay salaries and all that stuff for those guys, whether it's recycled or it's picked up.
The tipping fees.
Well, no, because we could just collapse it into the 4 days.
I know where I'm going. Yeah, I mean,
we're getting all of the truck driving and the gas and the salaries essentially bundled into our $6 a month / 12, whatever they choose to charge us. I think we should strongly renegotiate.
When we had the conversation about Madeira Beach, and not that I'm thrilled about piggybacking, but they are going to continue. Is that they have decided to continue, or we don't know that?
The information that I was provided is that they're going to enter into contract negotiations with the lowest responsible bidder on the Madeira Beach contract, which is Waste Pro. And these gentlemen just indicated to you that they should have that determination middle or late part of November.
Okay. One second. Did you want to say anything before I have?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about saving Mother Earth. I've got a sister that's probably was the original ecologist. You know, she's taught art and used trash and all that stuff. So I've been around this for quite a while. But with our hat on up here, we have 2 hats. One of our hats is very important to watch your money, your tax dollars, and be sure we get a value for it. Everybody wants to do business. I'm sure you guys would love to have our business as opposed to where we are right now. So I don't see a problem with negotiating and trying to find a fee. I think the people would like to have the door-to-door stuff that we have now, but is it practical and does it save us some money? That's kind of the direction I'm going. I think that if you really care about it, you want to recycle, you're going to take your stuff down to the park and you're going to put it in there. You can get that. But it's got to make numbers have to work for us. And Jude, I do agree with you. A couple bucks more is not all that much. But with everything else going up a couple of bucks, fuel, so forth and so on, to the average person, it adds up. And I don't really feel that's a decision we should make without talking to the public about it.
I'm sorry.
Would our costs for disposal of our solid waste go up if we had them take Wednesday? If we added Wednesday to the route for the solid waste, if we basically took out the recycling and added it into solid waste? And if so, what would the cost differential be?
Well, you're going to incur additional tipping fees based on what you're not collecting for the recycling. Now, there could be some offset. It's hypothetical. I mean, the recycling is fluid. Not everybody recycles every week.
Right.
So you would probably have an additional cost of anywhere $30,000 to $35,000 in tipping fees just for the extra weight that we're picking up based on the 750 tons.
And then presumably the cost of the overhead for the extra 20% or 15% of the week to have that day work, to have that Wednesday work?
Well, we wouldn't specifically pick it up on the same day we do recycling. People would, the stuff that's not being recycled would go in your regular collection day, either Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And then on Wednesdays, we would do our drop, if we took the hybrid program, we would do our drop-off centers and our yard waste like we typically do on Wednesday.
We run garbage trucks 7 days a week, from when they're not picking up regular garbage, they're picking up other things. You know, I don't know, she was.
No, go ahead, I was just.
Yeah, they work 7 days a week, because the same crew picks up the garbage on the beach and does things. And let me just say something about, before you go any further. I think we've laid out very clearly the options that you have. I'm a little uncomfortable with the further dialogue with a potential vendor about this. You can do what you want with it, but there's not other companies here, and if we piggyback, you're having continued dialogue with somebody that we may negotiate with, and I'm a little uncomfortable with that. I'll put that on the record.
Okay. What did you want to say? You wanted to?
All I was going to add was.
Well, you want to, because I can't hear you.
You need to state your name.
Yes, Ed Farmer. What I was going to bring up before, when the attorney brought up about the contract, part of the bid package had their current contract in there, which would be the basis for a new contract. It wouldn't be verbatim, obviously, but it would give you something to look at. And also the projected pickup day on there would be Wednesday, and we would prefer to do Wednesday here, so that wouldn't change as well.
Thank you.
And again, we appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right, so I'll close the public hearing, and I'm looking for, in this discussion, we have to have some kind of a
Consensus direction.
yes, direction to the city manager. Is there, I guess I could ask on the 4 choices, is there anyone who wants number 1? Is there anyone who wants to continue to accept with the increase of 88%? 2. Is there number 3, the hybrid program with the drop-off locations and the direct control?
Yes.
2 of you that,
Denise?
what is Denise saying?
Denise? You there? Hello?
Yes, I would like option 3, the hybrid model.
I think that we should go back to the current provider and ask them.
I did.
There was 3. It was Denise,
But
Joe,
it was Greg's choice to discontinue 4, I think. I was kind of
I
in
only
favor
got
of
2
4.
for number 3, so there's only 2.
I told you it was Denise, Joe McCall, and Phil Hanna.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
So is there no room for negotiation with the current provider?
No, that's one of your options. Is number 3 is to negotiate with the current.
3 is the hybrid, I thought.
No, I'm sorry, number 2. Not
Is to negotiate with, all right.
Yeah.
I'll go with number 2. Oh, I thought that number 2 was accepting their current bid though, and I don't, that's.
No, we don't negotiate with them.
I would like to see where they would come in. I mean, I would like to see, we have till December, I mean, before we make changes, couldn't we at least look at what they do with Madeira Beach and get an idea?
Well, so think about the calendar. They've indicated that they think the timeline for negotiations will be sometime in November. So we'd have to then look at what they negotiated and make sure that, administratively we're okay with it, and then y'all have to approve it. So that's not a big window. I mean, we have to do what we have to do, but that's a pretty tight turnaround for.
Well, there's 3 that want the hybrid. I don't really like any of them, to be honest with you. There you go on that.
To have a full analysis of the costs associated with the hybrid. Because right now we're shooting from the hip, like, do we know what the hybrid's gonna cost? If the hybrid costs $220.
No, we definitely know there'll be savings, but.
Maybe before we go plowing ahead, we should know what the savings might be.
We won't know that until we negotiate an agreement with Largo and then look at our costs for dropping off material or aluminum material. But we're secure in the fact that there would be some savings due to that.
You know, if we went with this hybrid for a year, 2 years, I mean, could we revisit this and when things change, like Joe had mentioned?
Y'all set policy and give us direction, you can change whatever you want to change, whatever
I
you
know,
want
but
to change.
it's very difficult to make those kind of changes. My experience has told me, okay, that when this is a big step for us to leave one program and go to the hybrid program, and then to turn around in a year and a half or 2 and then say, well, prices are coming down, or when
Well, I
they're.
need to just make one thing clear again for the record is that we provided 4 options, and that's really the only options that you have. And we're not recommending any of the 4, that's up to the 5 of y'all to decide what you want to do.
Well, that's a very safe answer.
That's a fact, because y'all the policymakers, and we don't, the staff make that decision. That's a fact.
Okay, well, it's 3-2, and we go with the hybrid for now, and,
This means we're just going with the hybrid, or are we going to look at the hybrid more closely?
what is in, you're
Or
saying that
something
the
about
hybrid
budget.
one, that if we go to the hybrid one, we won't know the cost in advance. It'll be over a period of time, is that what you're saying?
Yes, because what Dean would have to do would be to have a discussion with Largo. They pick up one site right now for cardboard. Under this number 3, there'd be 4 locations. He'd have to sit down with them and negotiate. Number 1 is they would even agree to do it or not. We had to ask them. So we'd have to have the discussions, and then they would tell Dean, just say they would do it. They would tell Dean, here's what we're gonna charge you to do this. The aluminum's a little easier because it's just gonna be based on volume, and we're taking it and selling it and getting the money out of it. But the key to the hybrid is Dean having discussions with Largo about whether they'll agree to do that or not. For a lot of the same reasons that we talked about staffing and trucks and.
So shouldn't we bring this back once we know all that?
If they haven't even agreed to it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Cookie, we cannot as staff go forward with any of these options unless y'all authorize it. Because you've approved a budget with a recycling program. That's why we have to have direction. And either one of these things are fine. None of us here will lose any sleep over whatever y'all want to do. But you have to tell us which one you want, and then we'll pursue it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I got a dumb question. I'm good at those. If we kind of know the direction we think we want to go, if you picked up the phone, you called Largo tomorrow or whatever and said, hey, here's what we're thinking. What's your feedback? We're not interested. Now we know. Or yeah, we can get back on that and go down that road a little more. Do I understand that the 88% is a firm number, that the other people are not going to even think of coming back off of that?
We have a written, it's in your bid package.
Right.
We have a written letter from them indicating
That's
if you want us to move forward
Right.
and extend the contract for a 3-year period, we will do that. It will increase your rate to $12.30 per month per single-family household, and then you have your additional fees on top of that for your condominium. That's in writing. I mean, that's the 88%.
That's them to us, but us not going back to them and asking anything different?
We asked them to extend the contract as per the outline in the contract.
Right.
They came back and said, we cannot extend the contract on the same terms.
Okay.
We will extend it, but here's our proposal.
Okay.
What you could do, and I think I know where you're.
I'm just used to doing negotiations.
I think what you could do, and Randy can correct me, I think what you could do is you could set the hybrid as your priority,
Mhm.
and then if the next day or two that doesn't go well, you could say as the fallback that, because I think at least 2 commission members that voted for this, is that the fallback would be we would immediately begin negotiations with the current provider.
That's exactly what I'm saying, because at least we kind of know where we're going, but buys us some time to find
That way,
something.
if the first falls flat, we've got a backup plan.
Exactly.
That's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Is there any value to doing both simultaneously? I mean, I don't know, it's not like we can only do one thing at a time.
Right.
I mean, can we negotiate with one company at the same time we negotiate with another company?
Well, the current provider has told us that they will enter into an extension for 88% increase. So, and we're not interested in changing the days of the week, or will we change any other terms in it?
We would not.
Yeah,
So it's just a cost issue?
That's
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're either gonna lose our business or come off that number a little bit and try to keep our business. Other people are gonna come into the marketplace to earn our business.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just business, you know, I get it. So, but I think you hit my point on exactly right, Greg.
That's really pretty smart, really.
You know, now we know what we got something, and let's go out and see what else we can do. If we get a better deal, we get a better deal. In this economy, I think somebody'd like to have your business.
Okay, then we have we have the A and B, what we're gonna do, which is number 3 and number 2. Okay.
Are you gonna change your?
No, so first we're gonna go out to the hybrid program, and then we'll also look at the,
Number 2?
yes.
But you're not going to number 2, you're just no vote for you.
No, I'm with Jude.
Okay, so you're going to with Jude now.
Can I ask, I want to make sure that number 2, as it were, does not preclude an RFP opportunity.
You're never precluded from going to RFP. The challenge that I think that the administration has articulated as it relates to an RFP, especially a solid waste or recycling RFP as it were, is the timeline for doing that. Traditionally, if the community is looking at doing a solid waste RFP, and I can just tell you this from best practices at a recent conference I attended for attorneys that serve municipalities, they recommend that you do so with at least 10 months of runway, and that's conservative. Just to make sure that you have enough time to get the specs, get an understanding of your routes and all the other elements that are involved. I went through not recycling, but a solid waste RFP in another community, and then what I would describe as a hurry-up offense, and it led to a series of, I think, 37 different amended comments through the process or something like that. It was, to try and make sure, oh, we forgot to address that, we forgot to address that. So the solid waste RFP, or in this case, recycling services RFP, that's always an option. You can always, with any one of your vendors, just as you could with attorney services, decide tomorrow, we want to go out to RFP. You have that ability. It's a function of you're running up against a contract term that ends this year, and there's no ability to do that on that timeline. And so staff is saying, here are the options of what we can do. If we're going to give a notice to terminate, we have 60 days, we're getting close to that. Yeah. If we're going to do anything else, we have limited runway, we need guidance. And I think that's the impetus for a lot of the urgency that administration is conveying to you tonight.
And I'd like to make it noted for the record that just in the event that there is a change in the recycling industry, that we revisit this subject, okay, for recycling.
Can I, speaking of recycling, can I ask about kicking cans down the road?
Only if they're recyclable.
Yes, well, I can tell you they almost all are. So if we were to eat, for example, for 2 months, that's 60-day, we have 60 days. Even if we re-sign at a disadvantage, we still can get out with 60 days notice. So we're not in it for another year or 3 years, whatever. We
have to give 60 days notice in advance of the end of the contract term.
Right. So it
has to be done.
So it's going to have. It would be for a full 3 years is the renegotiated contract.
Yeah, but if you were successful in renegotiating, there's still the clause where at any time during that period you can get out of it by giving notice.
For 60 days notice. So
that
would allow us to kick the can down the road, sign a contract maybe that we're not thrilled with, but give us time to renegotiate either with them or with other people. even if that's only for 60 days, 90 days, or 120. So
You're gonna
this
ask.
is, nothing is set in stone no matter what we do. Except if we pull back from the opportunities that we already have in place. If we pull back, it's going to be a lot harder to put them back in place.
Okay, so we have 3 commissioners who want to go with number 3, 2 that will go with number 2, and if there is an issue with number 3, you'll come back to the commission.
Yes, well, what we need to do is, number one, make sure there's a consensus that we can go with Phil's plan. The Phil's plan is the first thing that,
Dean.
Dean thinks I'm tired. Dean will do is contact Laura Good and see how that goes. If that doesn't go, we
It's
try
off
to
the table.
authorize it for us to automatically try to get in place the extension of the contract with people that we have now. So as long as everybody's okay with that plan.
It makes sense, you know?
All right, thank you for that. Thank you
And
for,
everyone has,
thank you for all listening to this, all this time.
Denise, are you okay
You
with
wanted to
that?
say something?
Yes,
Okay, come on
that
up.
sounds fine.
How come you didn't come up when I had the
Well,
public?
I had here, you know, this is my second meeting I've ever come to. It's the second time I said, I'm not gonna get up there, and I just can't help myself. My name is Erica Dietz. I live at 534 Harbor Drive North, Indian Rocks Beach. With all respect, I'm very curious how we got within 2.5 months of our existing contract, and this is just coming up, because the current provider obviously has us over a barrel, which they may know, and that may be part of the 88% increase, regardless of inflation and fuel costs, etc. But the gentleman from the competitive company said when he came up here that this seems to be an all-time peak because of the conflicts of circumstances, China, etc., that we all are aware. And he was fairly certain, I believe he said, we'll go back to the tape, that he considers the prices will come down over time. I'm not sure how long our contract is with the current provider. Sounds like it's 3 years on average. Could we consider renegotiating a longer contract at some kind of scalable rate? Maybe we agree to the higher increase now to cover their costs with a scaled down over time. What if we signed a 10-year or 12-year contract? I used to negotiate corporate leases, and I know that when I asked for a short-term lease, I paid top dollar. With a 5-year lease, I got less. With a 10-year lease, I got less. I, as a citizen, would strongly encourage the committee to consider renegotiating with the current provider, because I do agree that there is more than money involved here, and that's doing the right thing. Thank you.
Okay, we're done with this, and,
I just need to get a consensus that we first go with number.
We got that.
Oh, okay.
We already did that.
is there any other business to come before this commission? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.